Okay, so a new lecture for food science and chemistry this year. Titanium dioxide nanoparticles in food. Pretty much in the news at the moment. We'll look at historical role, various opinions on safety of titanium dioxide in food, and what nanomaterials are, potential toxicity and genotoxicity, and specific issues relating to titanium dioxide. The issue of titanium dioxide, particularly as nanoparticles, has been much in the news recently, following recent investigations into the potential long-term health issues associated with this material. A recent lawsuit in the United States claims that Skittles contain a known toxin, TiO2. The suit filed by a consumer in July against Skittles manufacturer Mars notes that the European Union is banning titanium dioxide as a food additive. More on the UK position shortly. As usual, there's linked articles there either via the presentation or they'll be in the end in the additional notes of this video. TiO2 occurs in nature as a mineral's rutile, shown here, the white powder, and anatase. It's a very widely used industrial pigment. It's very stable, and along with its insolubility in water has been assumed to have very little potential to react with biological molecules. That seems to be not necessarily the case. In the US, titanium dioxide has GRAS status. That is to say, it is generally assumed to be safe. And the chemist in me points out, make sure when you write it, you write the 2 as a subscript. Teesside used to have a very large titanium dioxide manufacturing facility, British Titan, on Habitable Hill Road between Middlesbrough and Stockton. These photos are from 1935 and most of the recent images seem to be in copyrighted archives. One of the two chaps is quite interesting. They appear to be peering down what looks like an early electron microscope, but maybe not. Historically, large industrial companies like this used to have a very big social profile, and British Titan was no exception. That is no longer the case for such companies. TiO2 has many industrial applications, including for paints. ICI's Dulux brand used to be a major employer locally. It's also used in products such as paper and sunscreens, and we'll talk about its use in food shortly. I'm not going to open this up in the video, but in the notes or in the lecture, see this website for an included video from an industry perspective on TiO2. It's always worthwhile to get lots of different perspectives on an issue. Here are some example foods which contain TiO2 as a pigment. So we're not yet talking about nanoparticles. White chocolate does not contain any cocoa solids, but is made from cocoa butter, sugar, milk solids, and is a pale yellow in colour. TiO2 is often added to whiten the product, and there's a range of other products there you can see from the list. It can still be bought from Amazon, and an online search will find many recipes that use it, including that one for honey, raspberry and white chocolate and Teramet. Quite sure what Teramet is, but I'm sure we can look it up. Here's a very upbeat video from Australia, from a lady who's very keen on using titanium dioxide in recipes. Again, watch it in your own time out of interest and perspective. See the various links here for background. TiO2 is E number E171. EFSA updated its safety assessment of food additive titanium dioxide following a request by the European Commission in March 2020. The assessment was conducted following a rigorous methodology, which can of course be found from EFSA's website, and taken into consideration many thousands of studies that have become available since EFSA's previous assessment in 2016. Including new scientific evidence and data on nanoparticles. As I mentioned, we'll talk about them later. Beg your pardon. It's not within EFSA's remit to ban titanium dioxide. Its role is limited to evaluating the risks linked to titanium dioxide as a food additive, and of course, the UK is no longer part of the European Union. Any legislator over regulatory decisions on the authorisations of food additives are responsibility of the risk managers of the various countries and meta bodies, so European Commission and Member States, and the UK on its own, of course. The UK's Food Standards Agency said after reviewing the evidence no safety concerns have been identified, which means there will not be a change to regulation in England and Wales. Food Standards Scotland also reached the same conclusion. However, as is often the case, UK food manufacturers who wish to export to the EU will be bound by the requirements of the risk managers of the countries involved. So if they want to sell to the EU, they'll have to follow the EU's position on titanium dioxide. Okay, before I look at the potential health issues with titanium dioxide, we'll briefly review the nature of nanomaterials and their roles in food. The term nanomaterials refers to the scale of these materials, which are measured at the nanometer scale, so 10 to the minus 9 meters, and these images give you a sort of indication of the scale of large molecules like DNA and proteins, so of that order of magnitude. Food naturally contains many nanomaterials. Casein micelles in milk are a well-known example. Think back to your first year biochemistry labs. These spherical structures are about 5 nanometers in diameter. It says mn in the notes, but it should be nanometers, and consist of a water-soluble shell surrounding food-insoluble proteins and fats. Casein micelles are of interest in terms of encapsulating food molecules. Click on the main image for some more information on that topic. It's a link to a Science Direct resource. Okay, impact of very small physical size. The physical and chemical properties of a given material may change significantly as reduced to nanoscale particles, not least because this dramatically increases the surface area per unit mass. Since most chemical reactions occur on the surfaces of substance, this may significantly increase the rates of chemical reactions in ways that may not be particularly predictable. Some words here. Likely to increase permeation into tissues. Now, permeation is the process of molecular penetration through the material membrane of a solid, which may be a cell wall, for example. I've got a spreadsheet here which include the module resources, which is a work through of the calculations. So we'll have a look at that in the classroom. The article linked here reviews applications of nanotechnology in food. These fall into two broad areas: processing and packaging. In terms of processing, anti-caking and gelation agents are examples of new technology solutions to traditional problems. See the FSA link for a reminder of the categories of E-numbers. It is noticeable that this list does not include the use of TiO2 as a food colouring agent, which may be surprising, but presumably due to the way food colours are defined as such. There's some good background material in the paper link from this slide. It's worth having a read for module relevant background. So I'm not going to review the whole area here. You need to do your own reading. Nano-encapsulation has the potential to protect sensitive biological food ingredients from environmental conditions, enhance solubilization, improve taste and odour masking, and enhance bioavailability of poorly absorbable nutrients. In principle, nano-encapsulation is quite straightforward. A food ingredient or additive is surrounded by a nanoparticle shell. This is a 3D structure, of course, rather like the casein micelle in milk, which you should be familiar with. The nanoparticle shell protects the contents from damage, for example, during passage through the low pH environment of the stomach. One example of this is the nano-encapsulation of fish oils and other essential fatty acids. This is done to potentially increase stability and control release and hence improve bioavailability. Food packaging is covered in another lecture, including some relevant developments. Essential oils, which have nothing to do with essential fatty acids, do not confuse the two categories, are of interest because of their potential antimicrobial properties. The problem is that they damage them by the many steps involved in food processing and the manufacturing of packaging. So nanoparticles are of interest as active packaging in contact with food surfaces or in the headspace inside the package. Nanoparticles like titanium dioxide or zinc oxide have been reported to have antibacterial properties and are used to inhibit or reduce the rate of microbial growth. See the paper linked to the main image for more details. In this case, mango peel extract was treated with silver nanoparticles and then used to coat strawberries. This significantly reduced bacterial growth. The film has an inhibition rate of about 95% against E. coli and Staph aureus. Again, you should consider this as an example for the material in the packaging lecture. Okay, I'm going to pause this video here. We'll have a second. It's up to about 10 minutes, so we'll pause the video and start another one shortly.